I mean, who wants to be an accountant? It's just so boring. The laughter from my family prickled across my skin. My brother's fiancée, Jessica, smiled, holding her wine glass like a trophy. She's right. My father, Richard, chuckled. Our Sandra's always been the safe one. My mother, Karen, chimed in. We just hope you find a nice man. Dear, your job is, well, it's fine. Jessica leaned in, delivering the final cut. It's just adorable that you think your little spreadsheet macro is a real company. Sandra, have you ever felt like the invisible one in your own family? Let me know your story down in the comments. I didn't cry. I didn't react. I just placed my fork down. The little click of silver on porcelain cut through the noise. The table went quiet, waiting for me to break, to apologize for existing. I looked straight at Jessica, her perfect, smug, venture capitalist face. You're talking about Auditly, I said. My voice was flat. Even. Jessica's smile faltered for a half second. She was surprised I knew the name. Yes, she said, recovering her poise. A cute little AI startup. Our fund is looking at it. We're planning to buy it for pennies. Really? Their team doesn't even know what they... You can't buy it. I interrupted. My brother, Ryan, sighed, annoyed. Sandra, come on. Don't make things awkward. I ignored him. My eyes were locked on Jessica. You can't buy it, I repeated. Because I own it. Auditly is mine. The silence in that $200 a plate restaurant was heavier than the steak. Let me explain my family. They aren't bad people. They're just performers. My parents, Richard and Karen, live for the country club. Their entire identity is built on appearances. Success, to them, is something you can see, a luxury car, a powerful handshake, an impressive job title. My brother, Ryan, is their golden child. He's a flashy real estate broker. He talks more than he works. But he brings home big commission checks and, more importantly, an impressive vice-fiancée like Jessica. He's the star. And then there's me, Sandra, 27, the forensic accountant, the boring one, the safe one, the quiet one. I'm the person they call when they need their tax spreadsheets fixed. But the one they talk over at parties? I'm the designated driver. I'm the background noise to their perfect, loud, performative lives. I am the shadow that makes their light look brighter. What my family didn't know is that while they were busy performing, I was building. For 4 years, I'd been secretly coding Auditly, a forensic accounting AI that can spot high-level fraud in seconds, the kind of fraud that takes human teams months to find. It isn't flashy. It's invisible. It just works. Like me. And last week, I'd quietly signed an exclusive licensing deal for $7 million. Leaving the restaurant that night, after Jessica turned sheet white, and Ryan started stammering. What kind of joke is this? I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Deeply, bone-achingly tired. As I drove back to my apartment, I finally understood why I'd hidden my success for so long. It wasn't humility. It was self-preservation. I parked my car, but I just sat there in the dark, the engine ticking, and I realized, psychologists have a name for it. The scapegoat and golden child dynamic. A performative family, one obsessed with image, like mine, needs a golden child. Like Ryan. He's the mirror. He reflects their success. He lives out the flashy, visible dreams they value. His success makes them look good. But they also need a scapegoat. That was me. I wasn't boring because I was actually boring. I was boring because they needed me to be. I was the one they could point to feel superior. My safety was the backdrop that made Ryan's ambition look so bright. My quiet competence was the thing they could dismiss, so they could celebrate his loud but empty achievements. I was the family's built-in less than. And that night, I had broken the entire system. I'd thought the truth, the sheer weight of $7 million would finally make them see me. Make them stop. I was wrong. I got home, and my phone lit up. It wasn't an apology. It was an escalation. The first text was from my mother. Karen. Sandra. You embarrassed Jessica terribly. I don't know where you learned that kind of tacky showing off. You need to call her and apologize immediately. I stared at the screen. Tacky showing off. A second later, a text from Ryan. Are you insane? You just blew up a massive potential deal. Jessica was helping me. What is wrong with you? Why are you always so jealous? You ruin everything. I scrolled through the messages, looking for one simple question. Is it true? What is auditly? $7 million. Nothing. Not a single question about the company. Not a single word about the money. They weren't angry that I was successful. They were furious that I had stepped out of my role. They weren't shocked by the truth. They were shocked that I'd had the audacity to say it out loud. To ruin the perfect picture. To stain the family's image. The anger in their texts. It gave me a strange, cold clarity. This was never about love or support. It was just about control. And I was done playing my part. A week went by. Just long enough for the silence from my family to turn from hostile into a heavy, suffocating weight. Then, the invitation arrived. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a call. It was a thick, cream-colored card. The kind that costs $10 apiece. Embossed lettering. You are cordially invited to celebrate the engagement of Ryan and Jessica. At the country club, I held the card in my hand. This wasn't an invitation. This was a summons. It was a command. Printed in elegant script. Telling me to get back in line. To show up. Smile. Wear a nice dress. And pretend that dinner never happened. They were resetting the narrative. They were betting that my fear of being cast out was stronger than my need to be respected. They thought I would fold. They had forgotten who I was. I'm a forensic accountant. I don't get into screaming matches. I don't argue. I out it. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. I wasn't thinking about the $7 million. I was thinking about Jessica's smug, surprised face. I was thinking about her words. We're planning to buy it for pennies. Why would she say that? How did she even know about Auditly in the first place? And then I remembered. 6 weeks ago. Purely as a test. I'd sent a very limited sandbox demo of Auditly to a dozen VC firms. Just to see what the real market would do. I sent it from a burner email. Under a fake LLC, Ledger Analytics. Jessica's firm had been one of them. I pulled up my server access logs. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. This was my world. This was the ledger. And the numbers don't lie. I cross-referenced the dates. And there it was. The access logs from Jessica's VC firm. Dozens of attempts. Not just reviewing the demo. They were pinging the firewall. They were running breach protocols. They were trying to get past the sandbox environment and into the core code. They weren't just reviewing my company. They were trying to break into it. But that wasn't the best part. I'm a forensic accountant. I build software designed to catch the smartest thieves in the world. Did they really think I wouldn't have countermeasures? Buried deep in the demo's source code. I'd planted a little trap. A digital canary trap. It was a beautiful, harmless-looking string of code. But if anyone tried to copy, export, or reverse engineer that section, it would secretly activate their webcam and microphone and record the next 5 minutes of their meeting. I navigated to the secure folder. My heart was thumping. There was one file. From 6 weeks ago. I clicked play. The video flickered to life. And there she was. Jessica. In a corporate conference room. Leaning over a laptop with 2 of her senior engineers. This is sloppy. One of the engineers was saying. The security is too tight. We can't get to the core logic. And then Jessica's voice clear, cold, and confident filled my apartment. Forget the front door. We don't need to buy it. Just crack this piece. She said, pointing at the screen. Find the core algorithm. And we'll build our own clone. By the time we launch, the little accounting girl who built this will never know what hit her. I stopped the video. I leaned back in my chair and just breathed. They weren't just arrogant. They weren't just dismissive. They were thieves. And I had the receipt. The engagement party at the country club was spectacle. I mean, Truly. White orchids were dripping from arches. A string quartet was playing in the garden. My mother, Karen, was gliding around the room, soaking in the reflected glory of it all. I walked in wearing a simple, tailored navy blue dress. Professional. Clean. My mother saw me, and her shoulders visibly relaxed. She rushed over, grabbing my arm in a grip that was just a little too tight. Sandra. Darling, you came, she whispered, her smile strained. Thank you. Now. Just. Be nice. I won't do anything. Mom, I said, and I meant it. I smiled. I nodded. I got a glass of club soda. I watched my brother, Ryan, and his fiancée, Jessica, stand in the center of the room like a power couple from a bad movie. They started the toasts. My father, Richard, went first, talking about this wonderful new addition to the family and synergy. He didn't know what the word meant, but it sounded expensive. Ryan spoke next, beaming. He talked about closing the deal of a lifetime, gesturing to Jessica, and then, high on his own performance, he lifted his glass and pointed it at me, standing in the back. And I want to give a special shout out to my little sister, Sandra. The room turned. I just stood there. I know we've had our differences, he said, laughing to the crowd, but I'm just so glad you're here. Sandy. So glad you finally get to see what real success looks like. The applause was polite, but I wasn't listening. I was watching Jessica. She was looking at me, smiling. Not a kind smile. It was a smug, self-satisfied smirk. The smile of someone who genuinely believed they had won. And I realized, this is the Dunning-Kruger effect in a designer dress. It's a cognitive bias where people with low ability at a task overestimate their own ability. They know just enough to sound impressive, just enough jargon, like AI, algorithm, synergy, to think they're experts. But they know so little that they're blind to their own incompetence. Jessica wasn't just arrogant. She was fundamentally mediocre. Her confidence wasn't built on knowledge. It was built on a complete, profound lack of it. She genuinely thought she was the smartest person in the room. She genuinely thought she was going to get away with it. She had no idea that the boring little accounting girl in the navy dress wasn't just in the room. I was the one who built it. May I say a few words? I didn't wait for a yes. I just walked forward and took the microphone from the stand. The string quartet faded. The room, which had been buzzing, went completely silent. Ryan and Jessica were frozen, both staring at me with that same nervous, annoyed look. I smiled. A tight, polite smile. Congratulations to my brother and to Jessica. I just wanted to say, Jessica, you were right. I let that hang in the air. She looked confused. Suspicious. You were right at that dinner. My job is boring. I paused, looking around at the sea of confused faces at the country club. It's incredibly boring, especially when you have to sit and review hours of internal security footage. Tedious video. Like this one. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I calmly walked to the projector they'd been using for the engagement photo slideshow and plugged in my adapter. The massive screen on the wall flickered. The smiling, airbrushed photos of Ryan and Jessica vanished. They were replaced by a familiar conference room. And then, Jessica's voice, not her polished, charming, country club voice, but her real, sharp, corporate one, blasted through the ballroom sound system. Find the core algorithm, and we'll build our own clone. By the time we launch, the little accounting girl who built this will never know what hit her. You could have heard a pin drop on the thick carpet. It was a special kind of silence. A sharp, collective intake of breath. My father, Richard, looked like he'd seen a ghost. My mother's perfectly manicured hand was clamped over her mouth. Ryan just stared at the screen, his face completely, utterly blank with shock. Jessica's face was no longer smug. It was a twisted mask of pure, reptilian rage. She lunged forward, trying to grab the microphone from my hand. You. I held up one hand, and I didn't even raise my voice. Don't. My voice was cold. It cut right through her anger. That's called intellectual property theft. It's highly illegal. And you just broadcast your confession to about 150 of your closest friends and colleagues. I turned back to the stunned, silent crowd. But that's not the only news tonight. As some of you just heard, I am the founder of Auditly. I made myself look at my parents. Their faces were chalk white. And last week, I signed a $7 million licensing deal for that software. My mother made a small, choked, gasping noise. But here's the part you'll really love. Jessica, I said, turning back to her. She was frozen, her hands still in the air. I didn't sell my company. We're merging. The deal was finalized this morning. We're merging with the parent holding company of your VC fund. My new role, starting this Monday, is Global Head of Digital Compliance and Asset Security. I let that sink in. I watched the blood drain from her face as her brain did the math. Which means, technically, I'm your boss's boss. I gave her a small, professional smile. I'll see you on Monday for that performance review. I didn't stay to watch. I didn't need to. I placed the microphone carefully back on the stand. The small click echoing in the dead, heavy silence. And then I turned. And I walked out of the country club ballroom. The fallout, I heard later, was not dramatic. It was swift, cold, and corporate. Jessica was fired before Nina Dildai. On Monday. Not by me. I never even made it to the office. The parent company's legal department saw the video, which I had politely forwarded to them along with my signed contract, and they escorted her from the building. There was no argument. Just a box and a security guard. My brother, Ryan, the golden child, didn't lose his job. He lost something far more valuable to him, his audience. He didn't cancel the engagement. Jessica did. She disappeared. Last I heard, she was trying to sue me for invasion of privacy. She lost. Ryan was now just that poor boy, the one who got tricked by the thief, the subject of whispers and pity at the country club. His shine was gone. His reputation, the only currency he had ever valued, was now worthless. And my parents, they called. Oh, they called. Dozens of times. The calls turned into voicemails. First, they were angry. Sandra, what have you done? You've made a fool of this family. Then, they were confused. Sandra, please call us. We need to talk. We need to fix this before it gets worse. And finally, they were desperate. My mother's voice, cracking. Sandra, please. You've made your point. Now stop. You're tearing this family apart. But they still didn't get it. I wasn't tearing the family apart. I was just turning on the lights so everyone could finally see the cracks that had been there all along. I didn't do it to make a point. I did it to end the conversation. That week, I sat in my apartment. I looked at the spreadsheet that detailed the $7 million contract. I looked at the number. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a secret. It felt like freedom. I booked a flight. One way. To Italy. I closed my laptop. The click of the lid shutting sounded final. Like a vault door. Like the last page of a very long, very heavy ledger. That night, for the first time in as long as I can remember, I slept through until morning. No guilt. No noise. Just silence. And it was beautiful. Thank you for listening. Sometimes, silence isn't weakness. It's the time you spend doing the audit. If you've ever had to choose between your family's peace and your own truth, share your story. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.